Hello, ladies. We have almost reached the end of culture studies, at least the mainstream schools of culture studies. We have now spoken about postmodernism. We looked at Baudrillard, one of the biggest pioneers of postmodernism, and from there we've moved to Bourstin and Debord, the image of spectacle. And now we come to conclude the entire school with two very important theorists. Fredrick Jameson, who talks about pastiche, and Ritzer, McDonaldization, right? So let's just quickly look at Fredrick Jameson's theory of the pastiche. I will spell out the name and then the spelling of the theory. The name of the gentleman who proposed this theory is called Fredrick, Fredrick, Jameson, Jameson. The theory is called pastiche, 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 right? The concept of pastiche is inspired by the idea of stream of consciousness. Stream of consciousness is a theory that was presented in literature by this amazing theorist called James Joyce. If you are literature students, you would have studied James Joyce as a part of your literary criticism subject, right? Where you're looking at cognitive analysis. If they've either taught it to you in the subject called cognitive analysis of literary criticism, or you would have studied James Joyce's stream of consciousness directly in the postmodernism subject, right? I studied in Christ, and for us, James Joyce was taught to us as a part of our postmodernism subject. It was a paper called Literary Criticism, under which we had postmodernism. One of the things that James Joyce's arguments talks about is primarily the idea of a stream of consciousness. What is a stream of consciousness? It is how your consciousness, your thought process is structured, with absolutely no beginning or end, right? You're constantly thinking, and I'm very sure you will experience stream of consciousness at its best at this point of time when we are just about closing in towards the exams, right? When we are sitting down and deciding to say, okay, you know what, 6 o'clock to 8 o'clock, I'm going to sit and study. I'm going to focus on these particular topics and I'm going to cover them by the end of 8 o'clock. Let's say that's the plan with which you sit. You're sitting down now at your table, your textbooks are right there, your notes are there, and you're looking into your notes, you're taking down stuff. That can last for about 10 to 15 minutes. Right after that, you will realize that slowly your consciousness starts lingering, it starts wavering, right? That's when you're entering another realm that is beyond your control, which is where the stream of consciousness begins. And in this, you will start building, one thing leads to another, and the thought process just keeps building up on each other, right? And according to James Joyce, when we look at, let's say, 1 hour's cognitive activity of you having thought about a million different things. For example, I'm sitting here, let's say I'm just sitting here trying to think about James Joyce's pastiche, and I'm talking to you, pastiche, stream of consciousness. I'm talking to you about stream of consciousness, and I'm teaching you stream of consciousness. Slowly, I will start remembering all the things that my professors from Christ have taught me about stream of consciousness. I remember the professor who taught me stream of consciousness, Dr. Padma Kumar, a very popular teacher in Bangalore. He used to teach a stream of consciousness, and just before starting this entire session, he would give us this activity where we would have to put down a random set of thoughts that we have been meddling with in the last 2-3 hours, and we just had to make a note of all these thoughts, based on which he would teach us how stream of consciousness works. So now, thinking about Padma Kumar's sir's hours, it would mostly be in the post-lunch sessions, and post-lunch sessions basically means boring lectures. Boring lectures basically means sleep, right? I remember being very, very sleepy, even though Mr. Padma Kumar was a brilliant, amazing professor. Somehow, just uh, out of sheer human value, I would sit in the classes feeling drowsy and getting lost and just thinking about everything else. And that's probably one of the reasons why I would sit at the back of the class, like most of the time, not at the end of the class, but towards the back, maybe in the last but third or last but second row, and most of the times towards the wall. And in our classes, there was no such rule where you had fixed position. So whoever goes to the class early and takes whatever seat is their seat. So I would most of the times, for this particular subject, literary criticism, take that particular seat and just most of the times just doze off. I would never make notes, and towards the end of the semester I would go running around begging for notes. And then there was this one girl called Madhura in my class, and she used to write really, really clear notes with like two different color of pens, red and black, and she used to like underline with red color and all that drama she used to do. And half the class would photocopy her notebook, and we would all like pay the class representative and get our copies, which was basically Madhura's notes that she took in class. Now, Madhura was a very sweet girl, and one of the things that was very common during this whole thing was the fact that she was a little money minded. So what she would do is, she figured that she would just sell these notes herself. So she would make notes and she would sell it for a little higher price, and she would be like, I will photocopy it for you guys and I will charge a little extra. And we didn't mind that, right? Because by paying a few extra bucks, you're making you're able to make sense of the notes and the textbooks and stuff. And we used to just want, our desire was to somehow clear the paper during undergrad. So you see what I just did, guys. I started with your subject, and from there I took you on a ride towards my classes, the HOD, the lecture time, and from there I spoke to you about a woman you probably never going to meet. And this is stream of consciousness. It's how one thought leads to another, and after about half an hour, not half an hour, maybe after about 2 hours of experimenting with stream of consciousness, you will have no idea how you reached that particular thought. But you're just meddling with a completely new thought. You're not studying what you're supposed to be studying. You have no idea what topic you're meddling with that day. You're just sitting there thinking, oh damn, how did I end up here? That is stream of consciousness. One of the coolest thing about stream of consciousness is most writers of the postmodern era started writing using the stream of consciousness method, and that became a very popular tool, especially in poetry. Instead of sitting there planning ahead of time as to what are the things they would want to include in their poetry, they would just put out all these ideas on paper, random collection of thoughts, right? And most of it had no connection with each other. Most of the lines wouldn't make sense. Later, once they've put all these thoughts down in the stream of consciousness patterns, they would eliminate, they would edit, they would cut, paste, etc., etc. And finally, their postmodern poetry would be born, which was so different from what you would see in the pre-industrial or the industrial period poetry, because there you know what the author wants to say right after reading the title of the poem itself. But when you are reading a postmodern poetry, it's a little challenging for you to understand what exactly the concern of the poet here is, right? And over a period of time, you'll just start making multiple interpretations. And one of the things that we used to do as literary critics was to go to the author's biography, read about the author, look at what kind, if the author has written something to do with romance and love stories, we would try and understand how many love stories the author has had, what kind of affairs, what is the nature of the relationship, etc., and try to make sense of the poetry, right? This was one of the tools that we were commonly using for literary criticism. Now, stream of consciousness has been used by Fredrick Jameson to explain pastiche, and even the word pastiche is directly taken from the field of literature. It's not something that has its origins in the field of mass communication. So Jameson makes his first argument by saying today's societies, the post-industrial societies, have become more and more consumer societies. That's the first argument, which is true. In the post-industrialization period, it's more than the production value itself. People are looking at consumption. There's so many products. Take any small, simple, functional product, right? For example, I have recently shifted. I have been looking for ant killing products because there's too many ants in the house. And when I went to a shop to get a sort of a product that kills ants or keeps ants away from all the food products, I had to choose from 3 different options. I mean, to kill ants, there are 3 options. I mean, you can imagine the amount of choices you have today. You decide to eat food, you have thousands of choices. You want to buy clothes, you have so many choices. You want to watch TV, you have so many choices of channels. It's all about choices. That's because we have turned into such vivacious consumers. We want to keep consuming. Now, in this context, when we are becoming such wild consumers, Fredrick Jameson says that in a context like this, more than elite, we go for popular. We don't want to look for something that's classy. We don't want to just look for something that's niche. We want to just go for whatever is popular, right? I mean, you can always go ahead and say Red Bull is $90, much expensive, looks very classy or feels much better when you drink, has taurine which boosts your energy or whatever, right? But people still go for one of the cheaper options, which is a Pepsi or a Coke, which still contains your not necessarily energy boosters per se, but it does contain acidity regulators and stuff, and it has this whole carbonated feel which makes you feel refreshed when you're stuck in heat, especially heat like the one in Pondicherry. That's the call of the day. Nobody wants to sit and listen to Carnatic music anymore. Nobody wants the elite shit anymore. People want the popular stuff. What is popular? Your Bollywood music is popular. What is popular in Bollywood music? Item songs, catchy disco numbers, these popular romantic ballads sang by Arijit Singh. These are the things that are popular. These are the things that sell. Nobody wants to buy a Pandit Guru Kiran something, that fellow who keeps making Carnatic music CDs and selling. You tell me, would you ever want to go buy a CD like that? Maybe if you're a Carnatic music practitioner, maybe, but as an enthusiast, we don't really want to go say, okay, can you please give me this particular artist's CD? No, we don't do that. We have these apps, Gaana and Wink and all of that. Nobody sits and types Pandit Guru Shankar and all. We just want to listen to best of Arijit Singh's music and stuff. I mean, that's the postmodern societies. We are constantly running after what is popular, right? More than what is elite. And when we are looking at what is popular, what's popular is primarily constructed out of pastiche. What is pastiche? According to Fredrick Jameson, a pastiche is a consumer capitalist product. Consumer capitalist product, which in my words is a bhel puri. I hope you guys know what is bhel puri. Now you can order your pani puri or masala puri or sev puri or whatever. This has limited ingredients, right? You want pani puri, you have your puri which is basically punctured. They fill it with a little bit of like whatever flavors and pour some tamarind liquids. If you want some khatta, meetha or whatever, they add that and they give it to you. You eat minimal ingredients. But your bhel puri on the other hand, he takes this big vessel, starts chucking all this stuff, everything, and then towards the end he again takes another bunch of powders, mixes all these chaat masala, coriander powder, whatever powder you can think of, right? It's all added and then mixes the whole thing, adds it to serves it on the plate, and that doesn't end there. Then again a little bit of tomatoes, a little bit of raw onions chopped, a little bit of everything, coriander. My God, bhel puri just consists of everything the man has brought, just dumped into one plate and mixed and given to you. That is pastiche, right? Pastiche, according to Fredrick Jameson, is a combination of multiple sets of things, right? Like for example, as a musician, I'm telling you, nobody today really, even if you are a band that performs live music, when you go to the studio, you still want to take a bunch of sounds that already exist. That's what your DJs do today. You see every street, every goddamn street has a DJ Rambo, DJ Mambo, DJ Jumbo. These DJs just need an expensive laptop, probably something that costs around 40,000, and 2-3 softwares that are enabling him to produce music, or her to produce music. And these DJs take a bunch of sounds that are already pre-programmed. Like you just have to go click on guitar sounds, and there you have some million different styles to choose from. You just combine and mix and match and mix and match and mix and match, and your song is ready. There's nothing new in it. You first create the bass line, then create the lead line, then put a bunch of lyrics, then get the singer to sing the lyrics and mix it, master it, your song is ready, right? That is how music is produced today. You don't really need to find a talented guitarist, talented saxophone player, violin player, nothing. Everything is there. You just need a goddamn computer to do your job. And people love that stuff. People love that stuff. If you've gone to any of these like DJ shows, right? I mean, there are apparently some. I have friends who claim that this DJ played some really nice music and this DJ is different from the others, and all of that stuff. But honestly, your DJ is probably really cool, but he's just taken sounds from existing set of glossary and just made a bhel puri out of it and gave it to you. It just so happens that the bhel puri in Koramangala tastes better than the bhel puri in Jayanagar. But please remember, it's both bhel puri. There's no like, oh, this is Koramangala bhel puri. Nothing like that. It's just all pastiche. And at the end of the day, modernist products are filled with pastiche. You go to a local small vendor and buy parachute oil from them. It's still the same as your fancy red colored parachute bottle. Now, I know you guys are probably aware of this beautiful product called parachute coconut oil. Now there are colors, guys. There are different colors for different types of oil. It's all made of coconut oil, but for like silky hair you can get the white colored dabba. You have the standard blue color parachute oil. Then there's the red for the difficult hair. It still is the same thing, but it's just given to us in sort of like a bhel puri-fied version, where you're just using same things but taking different little extra. Like you'll probably sell a coconut oil and say with aloe vera in it, you know, and people go crazy. People are like, damn man, why are you buying this oil? This is shit. Buy this. This has aloe vera along with coconut oil, and you're just like, whoa, yeah, that makes sense, and you buy it. So that is how our consumer societies, especially art in the consumer society, is presented. The best example for this, according to him, which leads to a situation where pastiche as bhel puri, is all your movies, right? He's primarily talking about art form. So what happens in movies, especially Indian movies, most Indian movies, at least South Indian movies, you have the protagonists who have a problem. They're in love, and the problem probably comes in the form of their parents who are against the relationship, and then they fight for it. They end up together. They live happily ever after. Same story presented to you in multiple ways, and it just ends up winning your heart. One last thing when you need to understand pastiche is the context of intertextuality. Intertextuality is the core of pastiche. What is intertextuality? Intertextuality. Text, not necessarily your text. Text in the form of media messages. Text in the form of newspaper articles. Text in the form of discourses that you see on billboards, hoarding boards. Intertextuality is a process of taking these existing texts and overlapping them. The process of overlapping of art forms becomes intertextuality. Pastiche is a bhelpuri. Take multiple random things that already exist and make it fancy and present it to them and tell them, I'm going to give it to you on a plate with a spoon and a fork and everything, and you eat it. Intertextuality, on the other hand, is where you take multiple art forms and merge them together and get them to overlap, right? For example, let's say I'm making a movie about, since all three of you ladies have watched Arjun Reddy already, I want to make a movie about a gentleman who's going to quit his job because he's in love, right? And for the sake of his love, he's also going to become alcoholic. Let's say I use the alcohol concept, the love concept, and then I just show this self-destructive gentleman, but here not for love, but more for like a job-based cause. I have just taken the existing art form, overlapped it, and presented to you with maybe a new actor and a bunch of new songs in a completely different setting. That whole thing happened in Mangalore. I will maybe base my movie in Switzerland. People will watch it. People will love it. But what have I done? I've just taken existing art forms, merged them together. Right? So this is what Fredrick Jameson was talking about in Pastiche and intertextuality. If I get time, I'm going to take up the next theory, the final theory, McDonaldization. Finish it off. If not, I will be uploading it by tonight. Peace.